Back to the Art of Crochet blog, and now we're going to start looking at edgings, and that's very exciting because edgings is going to make your squares look so much neater, and it'll be like making a bed, so everything will start looking better around it and neater. So here we are, and this is square number, oh, I've taken off the number, so I can't remember which one it is. Here we are, 21, so I'm going to keep that and put it on again so I don't forget. And we're going to start off with the ones that are worked in the round, and that's quite a lot of the squares that we've done so far because they'll have a different number of stitches along the side. So the first thing to do is to work into the corner, and all of these ones worked in the round are very similar bases, except they'll have slightly different stitch numbers in the corner, just to make up for the fact that some of them are done with a different number of stitches and slightly different techniques, which I'm glad because I've learnt some new things as we were going along. So this one, the first bunch that we're doing, has 2 trebles and 3 chains in the corner. So we start off with this 3 chain and then a treble, and then we work into the treble into every stitch along the side, so that's 15. And you have to remember to go into that very first stitch. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Do you see, it's very easy to think that's the first stitch, but there is a little one there, so you have to do that, and you keep going all the way down the side in the white yarn. You've been wondering why you had so much white yarn, and now you're going to find out because you're going to need it all for doing these. So all of the ones in the round are done with this same technique. So this is square number 21. I'm going to put this back on so I don't forget, and I might ping myself as I go round. And the other ones we've got with this same method are 18 and 11, then number 8 and number 9. And don't they look better already? They've got flatter, and they're all becoming more uniform, so they're much more going to be the same size, so when we put them all together. So that's the first 5. And they have that corner with 2 trebles, 3 chain and 2 trebles. The next one we're going to do is square number 10. Now that one is very similar, except it's got longer sides. So this one was slightly smaller when I'd finished mine. I'll take that off so you can see. This one was slightly smaller, but we can do 17 stitches down the side and then just 1 treble and 3 chain. So here I've just done a corner with 1 treble, 3 chain and another treble, and again you have to pick up that first stitch and then treble all the way along the side, just as we've done many times before. So you keep going along there and then do another treble and join with a slip stitch at the corner. So that's the first 6 squares, and the next one that we can look at is square number 13, and this one is different again because it has a bigger corner. Now this one has got 3 chains, 3 trebles rather, and then 3 chain and then 3 trebles, so that you get a much larger corner. So I'll show you here. That's my 3rd treble in that corner, and then we're going to start going along here, not forgetting to go into that first stitch there. It looks a bit like it might be part of the corner, but it's definitely, if you don't go into that one, you haven't got enough places to work along the side. So you just keep going along the side, and then I'll show you what you do when you get to the corner. 3 trebles into this last corner, and 3, and then 3 chain, 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch into the top of the original 3 chain. Oh, now that doesn't look so neat, so I'm going to do that again. So you need to get under both bars of the stitch, otherwise it doesn't look so neat. There we are, that's better. And now I can fasten off that one. And there will be a little bit of fastening off to do, and you can do that very quickly. I'll show you now, just by taking the yarn and threading it in, of course, along the white row. If you put it down into this dark, it'll show up like a sore thumb. So square number 15 is a bit different because it's a popcorn one. It's still worked in the round though, so it's the same principle, and you do your corner in the same way. And I've got my 3 chain and 1 treble. Then you work 6 stitches along, being sure to go into that very first one, and then you do 1 treble into this space beside the popcorn, and then 1 into that stitch behind the popcorn. So you just have to sort of work into the back there, and then back into the space again on the other side. And then you carry on and do it the same as the other stitches, as the other squares. Here we are on square number 17, and 14, 16, 17, 23 and 24 are all done the same, with trebles down the side, and when you get to the corner you do 2 trebles and 3 chains. So the only way that these ones worked in the round vary is by the number of stitches down the side, which is dependent on how many is in each square anyway, and then how many go into each corner. So this one's 2 there, and then straight down the side. So all the ones worked in the round are all the same except for the number of stitches down the side, which you don't really have to count, you just work each one, and then look out for how many to do in each corner, and then you'll have a nice pile like I've got here. So here we come on to the straight made squares, so that is, they go in horizontal lines rather than going round and round, and I'm going to start with square number 1. Join to the top, so have your square as you would have made it, with the lines running across, and you can start at the, oh, now I think that's the bottom edge, so I'm going to turn mine up regardless of the way the number is. Look, and there's my nice neat stitches from the chain from the very first row. So that's where you start, and join the white yarn to there, and we're going to do 2 stitches in each row. So we start off with 3 chain and 1 treble into the same stitch. There we are. And I'm holding that end along the line to work it in, and then we're going to miss a stitch and work into the following one. So 2 trebles into there, 1, 2, and then the same again, miss 1 DC and go into the next stitch along. Oh, into the same stitch again, 2 stitches into the same stitch, then skip 1 and 2 stitches into the next one there. And keep going along the row. So when we come to the going down the side of square number 1, you can see we haven't got the nice stitches to work along, so we have to work in between the rows. So we're going to skip the first 2 rows, and I think that's a row there. If you can see that, 1 and then 2. So we start in this space here and make our 2 trebles. So it goes around the corner neatly. And then we're going to miss another row here and go into that next space there. That's it. So keep going and work the corner in the same way with 2 trebles and 3 chains. So here's square number 2, and the first top edge is exactly the same as square number 1, and the difference is here, instead of going into the second row, skipping 2 rows, you just skip 1. So we're going to skip that one and go into here, and you do that 3 times, and then you change halfway down the row. So watch out for that. So we're just going to skip 1, and another one here. Oh, got a knot in my yarn. Hang on. So here we miss 2 rows. Putting that difference in the middle means that it will be nice and even on each side, and then you carry on as the bit before, and then you'll have the right number on each side. So number 6 is very similar to square number 1, except of course the square was originally made with trebles, not double crochet, so you go in between those nice bars, and you miss the first treble, and go into that space there and do your 2 trebles, and then you skip a space and go into the next one and do 2 trebles in there. So you're working into the spaces really, rather than into the stitches. So that's what square number 6 is going to look like. So here we are with square number 3 and 19, and the only thing with these ones is to try and make the edging even down the side, which means missing out particular rows. So on the first end here, you skip a stitch. It says skip a double crochet, but what that means in practice is that you skip a hole and then go into the next one, and you do that 2 trebles in each one until you get to here. So you do that 8 times. So you do 1 and then you repeat it 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I can do 1 more in this corner space here. And then we do 3 trebles, 3 chains, and another. So you should be getting used to this bit. So most of the corners have been pretty similar in the squares. Now going down the side, it talks about going into missing a row. So that's the first row. So it says you missed 2 rows. So 1, 2, and then go into this one here. So we'll do 2 trebles in that one. And then you miss 1 row in the next one. So we'll miss that hole and go into the next one. and then you repeat that 3 times. So miss a row, go into the next one. So we did our 1, 1, 2, miss a row, go into the next one. And then here we are, we're going to miss 2 rows here. So 1, 2, and then go into the next one there. And I think having the difference there in the middle of the row on both sides will be fine. So the next one you just go into 1 row again. And then you carry on, and the bottom edge is straightforward, and this you do this same tricksy thing in the middle on this side at the other end. And number 3 will be the same. So this is square number 4 in our lovely sunshine yellow, and the difference with this one is that it's done in half trebles, so the spaces will be different down the side. And instead of skipping some extra stitches, we need to cram an extra 2 trebles in. So you do 4, missing a stitch each time, and then you don't miss a stitch. So you go right into that next one there and do 2 trebles into there. So there's 2 really close together, and then you go back to the normal, doing it alternate stitches. So you're back to the normal down the side, skip 1. So here's on the second side of square number 4. Oh, wrong end of the hook there. Now it says to go into the stitch here, so I'm going to do my first pair of trebles in the first row. Now I think there's a bit of an error in the pattern here, but don't panic, common sense comes to the fore. So I'm going to skip the next row and do my next ones in here for 3 stitches, for 3 pairs, if you like, of double trebles. 1, and then skip a row, go into the next one. We do that 3 times. Skip a row, go into that next one. Try and go under 2 bars of the, if you can. So here I've done my first pair and then repeated that 3 times, and I think you just carry on doing the same thing. So I'm going to skip that row and go into the next one. And then skip that one and go into the next one. And we should end up with the right number of pairs. It's the reason to have the right number of pairs is that when you line it up with one of your other squares, which might not be a straight one, it might be one done in the round, that it will match up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we can skip that row and go into the corner space. So it's very easy to make a typo on these patterns for the people who are writing them, and sometimes it just takes a bit of common sense to see what you should do next. So there's a corner going into that final space there with 4 trebles separated by a 3 chain. There we are. That's square number 4. So this is square number 5, and just another minor variation. The first row is very straightforward. You just miss 1, make 1, miss 1, make 1. and then you get to the corner, which is the usual 2 trebles, 3 chain, 2 trebles. Now on this one, on the first stitch you don't miss a row, so 2 trebles into there, and then on the next one you do miss a row, so not into there but into that next, oh no, into that next space. I've got some ends there which can be tucked in later on, and then I don't miss a row for the next one, and then I do miss a row. So that's how this one works, that you don't, then you do. Miss one, don't miss one, miss one, don't miss one, alternating down the side. And I don't know about you, but I've edged a lot of squares now. So this is my pile of edged squares, which I need to sort through. And I have still got a few that I haven't edged because they was the same as some of the others. But you know what? We've got another square next week, and now you've got the hang of the edging. I think you can do it as you go along. So happy edging, and don't get tired out with it or overwhelmed. You can do it as and when you please, and you can keep it all till the end, or you can just do it as you go along, whatever suits you best. Happy crocheting.